I stood in front of the cracked mirror in my small, cramped apartment, my heart pounding in my chest like a war drum as I stared at my reflection. My name is Leela Carmichael, and at 26, I always thought life would be brighter, like the sparkly lights of the carnival that came to town every summer. Instead, I felt more like a shadow, fading into the walls painted a dull beige that seemed to absorb the gloom. My chestnut brown hair fell messily over my eyes, and I brushed it away, revealing deep-set hazel eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 untold stories of betrayal and heartbreak. I shoved my wrinkled sweater sleeves up to my elbows, suddenly overwhelmed with the thick, sour smell of forgotten takeout lingering in the air. It mixed with the sharp scent of my cheap perfume, a desperate attempt to mask the stench of disappointment. The sun streamed through the tiny window above my sink, casting an orange glow that might have felt cozy if I did not associate it with the last time I felt truly happy. I forced myself to smile, even though the outward sign felt unnatural. "You can do this, Leela. Just a few more hours to get through," I whispered, anticipation vibrating in my voice. The knot in my stomach tightened as I turned away from the mirror and took a breath. Today was huge. Today was the day I would reclaim my life. I grabbed my old backpack, the fabric worn and frayed at the edges from years of use, and flung it over my shoulder. My heart raced again as I quickly scanned my apartment for anything I might have forgotten. In my gut, a tiny voice screamed at me about time running out and opportunities slipping through my fingers like sand. The faint sounds of laughter and music floated in from the street below, bringing with them memories I tried to bury. But I shook my head and pushed the thoughts away like cobwebs, knowing that today was about moving forward, not looking back. As I stepped out onto the busy sidewalk of Springfield, the noise intensified, horns honking, feet shuffling, and distant chatter creating a chaotic form of harmony. The familiar streets of my neighborhood felt foreign today, almost surreal against the backdrop of my purpose. I had always been a part of this community, but I felt like an outsider, cloaked in my desire for vengeance. I walked briskly, focusing on the tiny things, the way the wind tugged at my hair, how the sun kissed my skin with warmth, and the flutter of my heart racing like the beat of a drum. Each step brought me closer to tonight's gathering, the annual Springfield Festival, which would mark the beginning of my plan. "Hey, Leela, wait up!" A voice called out from behind me, breaking my trance. I turned to see Jenna, my childhood friend who I had not talked to in a long while. Her auburn hair bounced around her shoulders, shimmering in the sunlight, and her bright smile felt like an unexpected hug. "Jenna, I thought you moved to the city?" I asked, forcing myself to keep my expression neutral, even though I was happy to see her. Jenna had always been the perfect one, study planner, popular, and loving life. I liked her despite my jealousy. "I did, but I missed home," she said with a laugh, her voice a melodic sound that made me feel at ease. She glanced at my backpack, suspicion crossing her features. "What's in there? You look like you're about to take on the world." "Just some stuff for the festival," I replied, attempting to sound casual. "Well, let me help you carry that," Jenna insisted, reaching for my backpack. "You look stressed, Leela. What's really going on?" "I'm fine. Just got a lot on my plate," I said, even though my hands began to shake. Jenna's good-natured inquiry felt like a dam cracking as I fought against the tidal wave of emotions threatening to break free. "You sure? Because any time you want to talk, I'm here," she said, sincerity radiating from her. "That's sweet of you," I managed, forcing a smile as a twinge of guilt swept over me for what I was gearing up to do tonight. "Listen, I really do have to get going. See you at the festival?" "Absolutely. I'll be at the main stage around 8. Don't be a stranger, Leela," she called after me as I hurried away, my heart heavy in my chest. The festival was full of everything I longed for: joy, laughter, fun, but today was different. As I neared the park where the festivities would take place, I observed the crowd gathering in excitement, their faces illuminated with hope and dreamlike anticipation. Children ran around, weaving their brightly colored kites against the blue sky while parents snapped pictures, capturing the blissful moments. But my heart felt hard like a stone. Inside, I imagined dark clouds swirling above me, obscuring the sun. My purpose was far from innocent bliss. It was revenge, a recalibration of all the pain and betrayal I had endured. The tall oak trees loomed overhead like sentinels, rustling with the late afternoon breeze as I stepped onto the festival grounds. Vendors lined the sidewalks, offering everything from funnel cakes to handcrafted jewelry, but the sweet temptation of the treats barely registered with me today. I continued past the booths selling crafts, my eyes scanning for the one thing I could not afford to miss: the the band performing tonight. My heart raced as I spotted the familiar dark-haired figure tuning his guitar near the makeshift stage. Kenny Moore, the man who had duped me, shattered my trust, and turned my world upside down. Not long ago, I believed he was my soulmate, but now he stood with his back to me, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing behind the scenes. Suddenly, rage surged through me, bubbling beneath the surface and sending heat to my cheeks. While couples laughed and children danced, I stood at the edge, filled with resentment. Our final conversation echoed in my mind, stinging like salt on an open wound. "Leela, I can't be with you anymore," he had said, his blue eyes betraying no regret. "I met someone else." "It is over." The weight of those words made it hard to breathe, and I clenched my fists, digging my nails into my palms. "You think you can just walk away?" I lamented to the shadows around me, the memory fueling my determination. He got everything he wanted while I got left behind, feeling like a broken doll tossed aside. I would make him pay for the damage he had caused. "Tonight will be the night," I thought as I watched him, resolve hardening within me. I imagined everything I had planned for him for them, turning back into chaos just like my shattered world. But I had to play my cards right, make the right choices. Tonight was going to be my moment. As the sun sank low in the sky, I forced myself to take a deep breath and pull myself from my self-imposed trance. I scanned the area, spotting the old food truck selling gourmet grilled cheese sandwiches. My stomach growled, but I was too on edge to eat. I pushed myself forward, adopting a carefree persona, waving at various friends from high school I had not seen in years. Each wave felt heavy with unspoken words, lingering memories I had tried hard to forget. "Hey, Leela, you look amazing," a voice called out, and I turned to see Alex, another high school friend I had once harbored a crush on. "Alex, thanks, you too," I replied, grateful for the distraction. Everything felt so surreal, like a warped fairy tale. "How's life treating you?" "Oh, just living the dream," he said, shrugging casually. He had grown taller since I last saw him, his confidence radiating in the way he held himself. "I'm back in town for the festival. Got a gig later. You should come see me." "Absolutely, I will," I assured him, already planning my next move in a mind racing with thoughts of revenge rather than nostalgia. "Okay, I'll show you the set list later. Just remember you can't miss the solo." He winked and I chuckled, feeling an odd comfort in his friendly banter. As Alex melted back into the crowd, I slipped into the shadows, pacing for a moment until I finally settled near the stage, where I could watch Kenny without being seen. The band began tuning their instruments, laughter bubbling up from the people surrounding me, but I couldn't shake the sense of impending doom hovering above me like a dark cloud, ready to burst. "How are you feeling, Leela? Ready to go through with it?" A voice whispered almost inaudibly in my head, pulling me deeper into my thoughts. "Of course I am. I know what I need to do," I murmured under my breath, but deep down, an echo of doubt lingered. A small part of me still questioned everything. Is this revenge worth it? Am I just adding fuel to the fire? But those quiet thoughts were drowned out as the sun finally dipped below the horizon, cloaking the scene in a beautiful twilight hue. Suddenly, fireworks blasted in colorful bursts above, illuminating the darkness like stars falling from the sky, buzzing in a harmony that drew people together with excitement. The crowd erupted in cheers, faces glimmering with anticipation. "Now or never, Leela," I whispered to myself, heart racing as the band began to play a familiar tune that echoed through my heart. I moved in closer, allowing my urge to make him suffer to fortify me with a renewed sense of purpose. I could see him so clearly now, laughing and singing, looking every bit the charmer I once fell for. He really thought everything was fine. But he had no idea of the storm brewing in me, the revenge I had meticulously plotted. As I watched him sway with the rhythm of the music, I could feel my heart hardening, a shield wrapping around it like armor. Let the games begin, I thought, knowing in that moment that I was ready to unleash the wrath that had been building, and nothing would stop me from obtaining the justice I so desperately sought. I had spent the last few days plotting, shadows creeping into my every waking thought. The sting of betrayal was still fresh, the memory of that night gnawing at me like a hungry feral beast. I could feel the ache in my chest each time I saw my reflection in the mirror. The way my dark hair fell just right over my cheekbones, how my emerald eyes would glint with hidden desires, and how my lips, usually curved into a smile, remained pressed into a line of determination. No more Mr. Nice Girl, I told myself. I was going to make him pay. Gary Reynolds, my former best friend, and now the villain in my story, had betrayed me in the most heart-wrenching way. Our friendship, once like a treasured book, had been ripped apart, pages torn and scattered across the floor of my heart. I could still recall the exact moment I found out. It was a Saturday, damp from the recent rain. I had planned to surprise him with a homemade dinner, but there stood Claire, his girlfriend, in the living room, laughing as they shared a bottle of wine. My heart plummeted like a stone into icy waters. I gripped my phone tightly, shaking from a mix of rage and disbelief. "How could you do this to me?" My voice wobbled with the weight of betrayal. When I confronted them, Gary had that stupid, sorry puppy look, as if he could charm his way out of my wounded heart. "Leela, it's not what it looks like," he had pleaded, his voice dripping with that faux concern I used to adore. I felt like a fool. "Oh, really? Because it looks a lot like you two in a heated montage of betrayal." I had always been the peacemaker, the one who tried to see the good. But this twisted act of cowardice demanded retribution. Days turned into nights as I imagined ways to make Gary regret the choices he had made. I wanted to cloak myself in shadows, weave my way through his life like a whisper in the dark, the night sky around me thick with vengeance. The third day was washed in a heavy fog, the kind that wrapped around my limbs, urging me forward. I tapped my foot anxiously against the floor as I sat in the dim light of my favorite cafe in Springfield, contemplating how to get my revenge. The smell of roasted coffee beans filled the air, mingling with the sweet scent of pastries that surrounded me and coaxed my senses awake. Each sip of my mocha took me deeper into my thoughts. The warm liquid melted against my tongue like soothing balm for my frayed nerves. I pulled my phone from my pocket, the screen lighting up with notifications that barely registered. However, the sight of Gary's name made my heart race, my fingers itching to respond to his unwelcome messages. "Leela, I am really sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. I want to talk." I scowled at those words, simmering with disdain. Who did he think he was? The audacity. "Ugh, I'm sick of this," I muttered to myself, drawing disapproving glares from the patrons sitting nearby. Does he really think I'll just forgive him over coffee and stale pastries? I could hear his voice in my head, the soothing cadence that had once calmed my storms. The sound clawed at my resolve. I took in a deep breath and forced his image away. Gary had it coming, and I would be the one to serve up the slice of justice we both deserved. I texted back a simple, cold reply, "Meet me at the park this evening." Even staring at the screen made my heart race with determination. The story of our friendship was about to rewrite itself, page by page, starting with that one meeting where I would lure him into my trap. The sun began its descent as the day turned into evening, brushing the sky with hues of orange and purple like strokes on a canvas. Each step I took toward the park felt as heavy as lead, my heart pounding in anticipation. I dressed deliberately, a fitted black jacket with a hint of allure, tight jeans framing my legs perfectly, and boots that echoed against the path. I wanted to project confidence and cunning, the kind that would draw him in without him realizing the storm that awaited him. Arriving at the park, the air buzzed with life. Laughter and joy darted around me like fireflies, but I felt the weight of my mission press against my chest. I spotted him sitting on a bench beneath an ancient oak tree, a place filled with memories of shared laughter and whispered secrets. He looked lost, his usual confidence crumbled into a fading shadow. Gary's light brown hair was tousled, his eyes darting around as if searching for a glimpse of redemption. As I approached, I caught sight of his expression, faint hope mixed with dread. "You came," he said, his voice barely escaping his lips. His hands fidgeted nervously as they rested on his knees. The sight of him stirred memories, laughter shared over ice cream, long conversations that stretched into sleepless nights, the moments we had mapped out our futures, only for him to snuff out those dreams with a single poor choice. "Of course, I came," I replied, gliding smoothly into my role like an actress stepping onto a stage. "But I don't think you came here just to apologize, did you?" I tilted my head slightly, letting a half-smirk grow across my lips, biting my tongue to suppress the venom that longed to spill. His green eyes widened, the glint of hope extinguished. "Leela, I know I messed up. I just thought..." "Thought what?" I interrupted, taking a seat beside him, invading his space like a lingering ghost. "Thought you could play with my heart and walk away without any consequences. Is that your game? No, I would never." Enough. I felt the energy crackle between us, thick like the impending storm, electricity crackling through the air. "You destroyed what we had without a second thought. I was your best friend, Gary. I trusted you." Silence enveloped us like a shroud. I could see his mind racing, searching for the right words that would dig him deeper into a hole he could never climb out of. "Leela, he faltered, his voice dropping. "It was never supposed to happen." Claire and it was just a mistake, a one-time thing. I thought I could tell you, but then I didn't want to hurt you. Too late for that, don't you think? I countered, my voice sharper than any knife. Here's the truth, Gary. What you did was a choice. You chose her over me. I was the one who stood by you when no one else did. His shoulders slumped, his defeated demeanor only fueling the fire inside me. I wanted him to feel everything that I felt, that prickling ache of betrayal and loss. What do you want me to say? He begged, desperation lacing his words. I leaned closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. I want you to understand that actions have consequences, Gary. I want you to feel what it's like to lose something precious. I paused, relishing the moment, watching as his confusion morphed into concern. I want you to know that I am not just going to forgive and forget. What do you mean? He asked, a flicker of panic igniting in his eyes as he realized this was going deeper, much deeper than he had anticipated. I drew back, my eyes narrowing as I observed him, his heartbeat pulsing in his throat, the worry threading his brow like a dark cloud. I mean, this isn't just about a broken friendship. I'm going to take back what was stolen. You're going to witness the consequences of your choices. Gary recoiled slightly, his breath hitching as he searched for words that would keep him safe. Ila, please, this is madness. You are my best friend. We can work this out, I promise. Just give me a chance. Why should I? I shot back, my voice dripping with scorn. You've squandered every chance I gave you. Did you think I would just roll over, that you could kill our bond and expect everything to return to normal? That is not how this works. Leela, I am scared, he admitted, his voice faltering, and for an instant, I wondered if there was still the boy I once knew inside the man before me. I never meant to hurt you. Then why did you? I pressed, fury mixing with a twitch of something that felt all too close to pity. I wanted him to suffer, to understand that betrayal cuts deep, but his words swayed something in me. A silence settled in heavy waves, and I could hear the rustle of leaves above us, whispering secrets about old friendships turned sour. My heart raced as I seized the moment, determined to keep my resolve. What if I told you I can make you feel what I felt, every ounce of pain, every drop of rage? What if? What if I could turn your world upside down, just like you did to mine? What does that even mean? He asked, his tone shifting from anger to something that sounded almost pleading, a boy lost in the woods, asking for a backtrack from the dark edge. It means I will teach you a lesson you will never forget. Consider it a crash course in the consequences of choices. Gary's face paled, the color draining like pigment from a painting. No, Leela, please, you can't. Did you ever think of how I felt? Of how my entire world was turned upside down in a moment? You're going to experience a fraction of that because I'm done being sidelined in my own life. I will make you feel as desperate as I did. He raked a hand through his hair, worry deepening the lines on his face. You won't do this, Leela. I know you. You're better than this. I simply savored his fear, the way he shrank into himself, the way his bravado crumbled like dry parchment in flames. Maybe you don't know me as well as you think anymore. Standing up, I found strength in my rising blood, in the satisfaction of making him painfully aware of his wrongdoing. Consider our meeting tonight an invitation to the reckoning. Enjoy the next few days. He stared up at me, mouth agape in disbelief, and for an agonizing moment, part of me almost felt sympathy. But I buried it beneath layers of hurt and anger. I pivoted on my heel and walked away, my footsteps echoing in the stillness of the night, triumphant and ready to execute my plans for revenge. As I walked out of the park, I felt the new me solidify, the layers of hurt peeling off to reveal this burning desire to unleash chaos. Gaining momentary satisfaction from watching the confidence exiting Gary's posture fueled my intent. I would show him what true betrayal felt like, and I could not savor it more. It was a cold, crisp morning in Springfield as I stood outside my grandmother's old brick house, the home I had grown up in but felt strangely detached from now. The scent of damp leaves and fresh grass filled the air, mingling with a chill breeze that made my skin prickle. I shivered, almost feeling a twinge of nostalgia for the warmth of my childhood home, but I couldn't afford to get lost in memories right now. I had a mission to complete, a score to settle, and today was the day I would take a step closer to making that happen. I could see the outline of my younger brother, Finn, moving around in the backyard, gathering fallen branches from the oak tree. Even from this distance, I could tell he had gotten taller, more muscular. The innocence of childhood was fading from his face, giving way to the seriousness of adulthood. I felt a surge of protectiveness, but I also knew it would be foolish to let my guard down. I took a deep breath, turned on my heel, and made my way to the side door, heart racing with anticipation of what was to come. The garden path crunched beneath my boots as I approached the door, the gravel grainy and sharp against my soles. I couldn't believe how much my heart was pounding. I was nervous, and I was preparing to confront my father. Words that had festered for years in my mind were about to spill from my mouth, and I wasn't sure I could stop them once I began. I was determined, yet a part of me quaked at the thought of facing him. I pressed the doorbell, and its chime echoed like a warning bell in my ears. I waited, feeling the seconds stretch out like an eternity, until I heard the heavy footsteps of my father approaching. His familiar silhouette appeared behind the frosted glass, and I felt a rush of old emotions: anger, sadness, confusion. I pushed down the memories that threatened to overwhelm me, reminding myself of why I was here. The door swung open, and there he was, older than I remembered, but with that same imposing presence. "Leela," he said, his voice neutral, almost devoid of emotion. I hated that slight lift of his brow, as though I were an inconvenient visitor rather than the daughter he hadn't seen in years. "What brings you here? Can I come in?" I asked, a little unsure of myself given my own resolve. He stepped aside, and I felt a mix of rebellion and determination course through me as I walked into the house. The inside was the same: wooden floors, faded wallpaper, and that familiar smell of old books mingling with the scent of coffee brewing in the kitchen. I stood in the foyer, my fingers dancing nervously against the edge of my coat as I tried to swallow the lump in my throat. "Can I offer you some coffee?" he asked as he walked toward the kitchen. I followed him, locking my eyes on his back as I made my way past the family photos lining the walls, each one telling a story of a time I was terrified he would blow it all up. "No thanks," I replied, my words sounding firm even though my heart was racing. I didn't want to prolong this conversation. I needed to get to the point. "I need to talk to you about what happened." That seemed to catch his interest. He turned to face me. The casual tone of his voice disappeared, replaced by a more serious expression. "What happened? You might need to be more specific." My hands clenched into fists at my sides, always wanting to punch something whenever he played innocent. "Stop pretending you don't know, Dad. I'm not here to play games." The moment the words slipped from my lips, a silence enveloped the room, thick and heavy. His expression changed very slightly, and I could see anger brewing beneath the surface. "You think you can just waltz in here and accuse me of things?" he said, his voice low and measured, a familiar warning tone that made my gut squirm. "What I think is that you owe me an explanation for what you did to Mom." The use of Mom instead of your wife caught him off guard. His brow furrowed, and I felt a flicker of satisfaction at his reaction. "Leela, I don't want to discuss this." He turned back to the coffee pot, his hands moving mechanically as if making coffee would somehow take me and this conversation out of his mind. "Well, you should have thought about that before you ruined our family." My voice echoed in the small kitchen, the anger spilling out unrestrained. "You think I don't know how to push your buttons." His back was still to me, but I could see his shoulders tense slightly as I continued. "I lived for years under the shadow of your lies, your decisions. Do you really think I would just let it go? You don't know what happened," he shot back, sounding defensive now. "You don't know anything." I took a step closer, the distance between us feeling insurmountable. "Then enlighten me. Tell me what happened that night, Dad. Why did you do it?" I could hear the tremor in my voice, the way my anger blended with fear and uncertainty. He turned to face me again, and this time I saw him truly for the first time in years, really looking at me, more like a stranger than a father. "Is that what this is about? You want some sort of explanation? You think that will fix everything?" His voice was heavy with disbelief. "What I want is for you to take responsibility for your actions. You shattered a family, you shattered me." The words stumbled from my lips in a rush, fueled by a lifetime of bottled-up emotions. "How many times do you think I tried to reach out to you when you chose your career over us? When you lied to Mom, kept secrets? How could you? It's like you erased our family for your stupid ambition." I wasn't holding back anymore. Every insult, every disappointment I had swallowed down for years poured out like poison. "You call your ambitions stupid, Leela? You think that's how the world works? Sacrifices need to be made." I could see the color in his face turning red, and part of me felt a little thrill. "Sacrifices? What did you sacrifice? You gave up our family, you gave up Mom and me for your selfish desires. You can't tell me that you don't see how broken this is." He took a deep breath, taking a step toward me, the tension in his posture making his presence more daunting. "You don't know what I went through. You weren't there when I was drowning in debt, drowning in expectations. I was trying to build a future for us. You don't even get it, do you?" I was shaking, fists clenched, heart pounding as I faced him. "You think building a future is about money and status? Did you think that would be enough? Because it was." The kitchen felt small, walls closing in as we stood facing each other, charging like two opposing forces. My mind drifted briefly to those evenings when I waited up for him to come home after long nights at work, wondering if he would ever choose us over his ambitions. "You'll never understand the sacrifices it takes to make a living. You have it so easy," he accused, voice booming. "Easy? You think it's easy living in your shadow, having to bear the weight of your decisions?" My voice quivered slightly, and I immediately hated it. I wanted to show him that I was strong, that I could stand up against him. "You don't know what it means to struggle. You've had everything handed to you. Mom was the one holding this family together while you were out pretending to be a big shot." The last words escaped my mouth like a bullet. I could see them hit home. I watched as his facade began to crack, the anger giving way to something deeper, something sorrowful. "How dare you talk about your mother like that?" he said, voice dropping. I took a step back, shocked at his reaction. "You think," I choked on my words, feeling a lump form in my throat, but I knew I had to stand my ground. "You think I don't care about her? I watched her suffer because of what you did. I'm here because I can't let you push this under the rug any longer." "And what do you plan to do, Leela? Go public with these wild accusations? Make a scene? You think that will solve anything?" The way he looked at me, like I was just some naive girl playing a dangerous game, made my blood boil. "If I have to." "If that's what it takes," I replied fiercely, "I will break the cycle." There was definitely a shift in him, a moment of realization, perhaps fear. "You think you can destroy me, that this will all end with you standing victorious. You don't understand what you are up against." "I know exactly what I'm up against," I retorted, feeling the adrenaline coursing through me, "and you better believe that I'm ready." "You are making a huge mistake, Leela." I could see him struggling, weighing his options as he took in the gravity of what was happening. The silence hung heavy between us, and I could almost hear his mind churning. "Maybe it's time someone had the courage to stand up to you," I added, softening my tone a bit, hoping to hit the right nerve. "You've had your way for too long." His expression softened just a fraction, and despite his anger, I caught a glimpse of the man I once looked up to, buried beneath the years of ambition and self-interest. "I am your father," he said, his voice thick with emotion, and for the first time there was a hint of desperation. "You think that gives you the right to make decisions for me? To tell me how to live my life?" My heart raced, feeling the power shift just as the rain began to tap against the window, tiny droplets at first before it turned into a steady rhythm. "No, but it gives you the responsibility to be a better father," I shot back, the words dripping with my own hurt. It was as if the rain matched our anger, a storm on the horizon mirroring the chaos within. "If you can't shoulder that responsibility, then you need to face the consequences. I won't let you hide behind excuses any longer." He opened his mouth, then closed it again, searching for words that refused to come. The iced-up tension between us felt electric, charged with years of hurt and unresolved pain. "Leela, please," he finally said, his voice low yet pleading, the mask of authority slipping for just a moment. "Think about this decision. You could ruin everything." "And yet, everything is already ruined, Dad," I replied, my voice steady now, a firm finality in my tone. "You don't need to be a victim any longer. You have a choice, just like I do." As the rain began to pour in earnest outside, the sound rose to a crescendo that echoed my own heartbeat, a reminder that storms pass but often leave destruction in their wake. My father sighed, weariness settling into the lines of his face. The tough exterior cracked a little, and for one fleeting moment, I thought he might actually have an epiphany, a chance for redemption or change. But then he hardened again, regaining some semblance of control. "This is dangerous territory you tread on, Leela," he warned, sitting on the edge of the kitchen counter. "You think I won't defend myself?" "I know you will," I replied, my voice unyielding, "but you won't get to take me down like you did Mom. I've had enough." His eyes narrowed, betraying the fight and fear churning within him. "We were good together," he stated, voice cool but hinting at regret. "You and I against the world." The attempt at recollection only incited more fury within me. "That was a lie," I argued. "You were always on the same side as your own ambitions, never on the side of your family." Tears stung the corners of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I flipped my hair over my shoulder defiantly and held my ground. "You can pretend this isn't your fault, but I'm done hiding behind your lies. I need to make things right for myself, even if it means tearing this family apart." Another silence filled the air before my father replied, voice almost softer now. "Leela," but I cut him off, emotion bubbling to the surface once again. "Don't even dare try to make me feel guilty. You've haunted my life long enough. Today is about uncovering the truth. You think you were fighting for us, yet you choked the life out of what it meant to be a family." Enough, he thundered, drowning out the echoes of the rain. I flinched back, feeling momentarily defeated, but I wouldn't let him break me, not now. This is your last chance, Leela. Walk away, he warned, though his plea felt like desperation now, a desperate attempt to hold on to something he feared might slip away. I'm not walking away, Dad. The intensity swelled around us, the rain crashing against the windows, my heart a furious drum in my chest. You're going to have to face me, face everything you've tried to bury. I won't let you keep ruining things for everyone. He stared at me for a moment, uncertainties flickering across his features, and I could tell he was weighing whether to fight or to surrender. In that instant, I saw a chance, an opportunity to break the cycle of silence and deception that had imprisoned us for years. It's too late for that, I added, taking a breath, trying to remain steady as my heart raced. The time for hiding is over. And with that, the storm burst forth outside, rain falling heavily as if it knew the weight of the battle unfolding between a father and daughter, each drop pounding against the glass. A metaphor for the clashes of their hearts as each fought for the life they believed in. Leela stood in front of the mirror in her dimly lit apartment, her reflection staring back at her with a mixture of defiance and uncertainty. The small space was filled with the scent of burnt toast and spilled coffee, remnants of her rushed breakfast that morning. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second echoing like an impatient heartbeat. Today is the day, Leela, she whispered to herself, forcing a determined smile as she adjusted her dark hair, tucking a rebellious strand behind her ear. She squeezed her fists, feeling the raw energy surge through her as she remembered why she was doing this. She had spent the last few weeks meticulously gathering every piece of information about Max, her former best friend and lover who turned her life upside down when he betrayed her. The pain of his betrayal still stung deep within her heart, a crimson scab she was unwilling to let heal. Leela thought about him as she pinned her hair back, picturing his face, that charming smile, and the way his eyes used to light up when they were together. But that was before he chose his ruthless ambition over her, before he sold her out to the very people who nearly destroyed her life. You are going to pay, she muttered under her breath, feeling a wave of anger wash over her. She took a deep breath, summoning the brittle courage that had kept her going. Today was the charity gala where Max would be the honored guest, sipping champagne with the city's elite, basking in the glory of his success while she fumed in the shadows. She had already purchased her ticket, and the glittering invitation was tucked away in her pocket, the embossed card feeling like a statement of her resolve. It's time to put my plan into action, she said softly, her voice steadying. The gala would be filled with people she knew, familiar faces from the past, but they would hardly notice her. She would be a ghost among them, blending in with the crowd yet harboring the weight of revenge. Leela slipped into a sleek black dress that hugged her curves perfectly, the sequins shimmering under the flickering light of her overhead lamp. The dress was a reminder of her transformation. She was no longer the girl who had fallen into despair after Max's betrayal. She was reclaiming her power, ready to confront the man who had wronged her. Flashes of memory danced in her mind, memories of their laughter echoing through their shared moments, now tainted. I won't let you win, Max, she declared, her reflection staring back at her with fierce resolve. As she slipped on her heels, she felt the slight pinch of discomfort, but reveled in the power they gave her. Each step was a reminder that she was no longer the victim. She was the architect of her own destiny now. The sun was beginning to set as she left her apartment, casting a golden hue over Springfield. The streets buzzed with early evening energy, the warmth of the sidewalks bustling with people who seemed blissfully unaware of the storm brewing inside her. Arriving at the venue, a grand old theater dressed in twinkling fairy lights, Leela's heart raced. The entrance was decorated with floral arrangements, and the faint sounds of laughter and clinking glasses floated into the night like a siren's call. She stepped inside, instantly enveloped by the luxurious ambience. Crystal chandeliers hung low from the ceiling, casting a warm glow over the crowd dressed in their finest attire. The air smelled like expensive perfume mingled with rich hors d'oeuvres, making her stomach flutter with anticipation and nerves. There he was. Across the room, Max stood tall, surrounded by a group of admirers, his laughter carrying through the air like a haunting melody. He looked radiant, dressed in a tailored navy suit that emphasized his athletic frame, hair perfectly tousled, but the sight of him made her insides churn with rage. How can he just stand there, basking in all this? She thought bitterly, squeezing her hands into fists at her sides. And then he has the audacity to act like I don't exist. Taking a deep breath, Leela pulled herself together. She had come too far to turn back now. She knew she had to approach him eventually. The moment had to be just right. As the night unfolded, she maneuvered through the throng of people, exchanging pleasantries and small talk as she kept her eyes fixed on Max. The thrill of the hunt both excited and terrified her, like a tightrope walker balancing over a chasm of uncertainty. "You look fantastic, Leela," someone exclaimed, jolting her from her concentration. It was Sarah, a fellow classmate and former friend from her college days. Sarah was dressed in a dazzling red dress, her golden curls cascading down her shoulders. Leela forced a smile. "Thanks, Sarah, you look amazing too." They exchanged pleasantries, but Leela's mind was elsewhere. Excitement tinged with nervousness swirled within her as she spotted Max quietly sipping on a glass of sparkling wine, oblivious to the fire he had lit inside her. Leela's pulse quickened as she gathered her nerves, mentally rehearsing her confrontation just like she had in the shower that morning. "Show him you are in control," she urged herself, envisioning the gleeful satisfaction of revealing his downfall. She had spent countless nights preparing for this moment, building up the perfect plan in her mind. "Excuse me, I need to head to the restrooms," Leela told Sarah, who nodded as she drifted back into the crowd. Leela silently maneuvered her way towards Max, desperate to avoid distractions. As she approached him, her heart raced, each beat echoing against the walls of her chest. She could hear the snippets of conversation around her, laughter blending with the music from the band, but she focused solely on Max. When he finally looked her way, his smile faltered, and for a brief moment surprise crossed his features. "Leela," he said, almost incredulously. The spark in his voice only served to ignite the embers of her anger. "Is that really you? I didn't expect to see you here." "Is that so?" she replied, her voice steady but edged with sarcasm. "How could I miss this grand party? Congratulations on your success, Max. You've really come a long way." The words dripped with bitterness. Max raised an eyebrow, his eyes narrowing slightly. "It's great to see you, seriously. We've missed you at the events lately. I thought you were." "I was, but I decided it was time for me to step back into the world," Leela interrupted, her emotions boiling just beneath the surface. "And I see you are still good at charming everyone around you." "Leela, come on, it's not what you think. I have connections now, people who appreciate my work. I thought you would be happy for me." "Happy?" she laughed, the sound almost harsh as it escaped from her lips. "You think I would be thrilled to see the man who betrayed me flourishing without a care in the world? Excuse me if I find that hard to swallow." His expression shifted, the surprise giving way to defensiveness. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Leela. You have to understand it was business. I had no choice. It was either that or watch everything I worked for fall apart." "Business?" she scoffed, feeling the rage bubbling inside her like an uncontrollable flame. "You sacrificed our friendship for a few extra dollars and the fleeting impression you would leave on people who don't matter." "I didn't betray you," Max insisted, his voice rising slightly as he glanced around to see who might be overhearing their conversation. "I did what I thought was necessary." "You have to believe me." Leela stepped closer, lowering her voice, but the intensity in her gaze only heightened. "Do you know how it felt to be left behind while you climbed on my back for glory? It felt like betrayal disguised as loyalty, Max. It took me months to rebuild my life after you were done with me." The pain in her voice was raw, and she could see the flicker of guilt cross his face. "Leela, No, don't even try to make excuses," she interrupted, her voice a fierce whisper. "I'm not here to give you a chance to defend your actions. I'm here to settle the score because you think you can just stroll through life without consequences. That ends tonight." Max straightened his posture, a hint of disbelief playing across his features. "Settle the score? What are you talking about?" "Let us not play games. You know exactly what I mean," she replied, her determination solidifying. It was no longer just anger she felt, it was empowerment, an intoxicating mix that fueled her resolve. "I've taken steps to ensure you understand the consequence of your actions." "Leela, you're scaring me," he said softly, stepping back slightly as if words would protect him from the power radiating off of her. "Good, you should be scared." Their eyes locked, a whirlwind of emotions swirling around them. "You have no idea what I've been through since you decided to hurt me like that. And now, it is time for you to experience a fraction of that pain." "Leela, please think this through," he urged, but even as he spoke, Leela could see the cracks beginning to form in Max's usually confident facade. "There's nothing to gain here. You don't have to do this." "Wrong. There is everything to gain. The chance to reclaim what you stole from me, my peace, my confidence," Leela said, each word deliberate as she gestured vaguely. She could feel the anger coursing through her veins, and the thrill of her plan unfolding before her eyes was nearly intoxicating. A voice suddenly boomed behind them, interrupting the heavy tension that hung in the air. "Max, come help us over here." A suited man gestured, breaking the moment but also forcing Leela to fight for the control she was desperate to keep. "I have to go. We will talk later, all right?" Max stammered, grabbing onto the lifeline of distraction. Without waiting for her response, he turned and walked away, his back to her as he joined the small crowd. The irritation gnawed at her, an insatiable itch reminding her that she was not yet finished. Just as she was about to turn away, a glimmer caught her eye. She glanced down at her phone, a notification lighting up the screen. Leela felt her stomach drop as she opened it, revealing the message from her sister Sarah, who had been rooting for her revenge plan from the very beginning. "Leela, do you need backup? I'm in the lobby. Let me know if you want me to distract him." The simple message sparked an idea, an electric thrill racing through her. Perhaps allies would be crucial in ensuring that she executed her plan flawlessly. She took a deep breath, her mind racing with possibilities. "Text me where you are, and don't leave him alone," Leela muttered, already envisioning her next steps as she shot a quick reply. She stood there, watching Max laugh and mingle with those oblivious to the brewing storm inside her. The clinking of glasses and the endless murmur of cheerful conversations mixed with the melody of the band. But for Leela, everything felt amplified, each sound defying her goal of subtlety. It was time to awaken the monster in Max. She refused to let this night be just another disappointment where she walked away empty. "Just wait," she thought to herself, a satisfied smile creeping onto her lips as the gaudy lights twinkled around her, illuminating the dark corners of her ambitions. "You won't see it coming. Not at all." A plan was forming, intricate yet daring, and she could almost taste the sweetness of victory as she prepared to make her next move, ready to unleash the chaos she had been nurturing within her for far too long. The night was just beginning, and she would ensure it ended with a bang that would reverberate throughout both their lives. I stood in front of the steel door, my heart racing as I prepared for what lay ahead. The smell of cold metal mixed with an almost sterile scent of antiseptic filled the air. My palms were clammy, and I took a deep breath, willing the panic to settle in the pit of my stomach. This was it. Time to confront Victor, the man who had not only wronged me but shattered the lives of so many others, including my own. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting harsh shadows across the stark concrete walls. I shivered slightly, not from the chill but from the weight of anticipation pressing against my chest. As I pushed the door open, the hinges creaked, and the sound echoed ominously in the small room. There he was, Victor, sitting at a metal table. His arms crossed casually, his expression a mask of indifference that riled me further. Dark hair fell just over his brows, and his piercing blue eyes flicked up to meet mine. "Well, well. If it isn't the little girl with the big dreams," he mocked, but there was a hint of surprise in his voice. He didn't expect me here. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" I stepped forward, my heart pounding like a wild drum in my ears. "Cut the act, Victor. I'm not here for pleasantries." I could feel my hands trembling as I clenched them into fists. I was furious, and I needed him to know it. My fingers flexed, the nails biting into my palms, grounding me with each calculated breath. I was no longer the timid Leela he remembered, the girl who was once scared of her own shadow. I was a woman fueled by revenge and the need for justice. Victor leaned back in his chair. "You really think you can confront me? What are you going to do? Yell, cry, make a scene? That works for the weak." He looked amused, a cruel smirk playing at the corners of his lips. I could feel his arrogance radiate off him, saturating the air thick with tension. "You don't get to play games anymore, Victor," I replied, my voice steely as I stepped closer, determined to invade his personal space. "You ruined my life and so many others. The time for your games has not only ended, but you will pay for every single thing you did." I could feel the rage welling up inside me, hot and raw. I had waited for this moment for so long, rehearsing my words as I imagined his reaction. Yet here I was, and the reality felt much different than the fantasy. He scoffed, his chuckles echoing against the sparse walls. "You think you're some kind of vigilante? You think you'll make a difference? Please, I've survived worse than a little girl's tantrum." He leaned forward, that smirk never wavering. "I'm untouchable, Leela, you know that." I swallowed hard, the knot in my throat tightening as I realized how true those words were, but I didn't come here to back down. I shook my head, forcing myself to push past the fear. "You're not untouchable, Victor. Justice has a way of creeping up on people." My voice was steadier now, my resolve hardening like metal forging in fire. You may think you've evaded it, but there's always a reckoning. Is that a threat? Cute. He laughed again, but there was a flicker of something else in his eyes. Was it fear? Maybe even recognition of an impending doom? I couldn't help but relish the feeling. I had instilled just a hint of doubt in him, and a small part of me savored that. Let me remind you what you've done, I said, my voice low and steady, letting memories flood into my mind. You were the one who convinced my father to invest everything into your worthless scheme. You took his life savings and left him in a pit of despair. When he lost everything, including hope, how do you think that made me feel? You crushed us. My family, my dreams, all gone because of you. His expression hardened slightly, but the smirk remained. You really think sentiment will sway me? You think I care about your pathetic story? I stepped back, my throat tightening as I struggled to keep my composure. Caring isn't the point, Victor. This isn't just about you and me anymore. There are others like me, people you've hurt. You might have played mud games, but the mud's going to stick. Every word I spoke had a weight I had bottled up for too long, and I could feel the release of that anger flowing through me. Victor shifted uncomfortably in his chair, the confidence starting to slip away, if only just a bit. You think you're so clever? You think revealing this to the world would matter? I outrank you, I always will. He leaned forward, attempting to regain his dominance. You want to talk about hurt? You have no idea what real pain feels like. No, I snapped, my ire bubbling just below the surface. I know exactly what pain feels like, but you. You don't know what it means to love something and then watch it be ripped away. I know what it feels like to feel powerless while you sit back, laughing at your own destruction. My fingers dug into the metal of the table, needing an anchor, and I refused to be powerless anymore. Victor's expression grew dark, an unmistakable flicker of anger flaring within those icy blue depths. You're just a little girl playing with fire. Do you really think you can scare me? His smile was gone now, replaced by a threatening shadow. You want to intimidate me? You've got the wrong person. Not here to scare you, Victor. I'm here for justice. I straightened, exuding a newfound bravery that filled the space between us. I came here to show you that you don't just get to walk away. I spent months planning this, ensuring you'd remember who you hurt. You'll feel my presence every day until it drives you insane. His eyes narrowed, a flicker of awareness clouding his features. What do you mean? The arrogance began to crumble, and I could sense his panic growing just under the surface. Maybe this would go better than I thought. I took a step back and leaned against the wall, folding my arms. You've lived your life in a bubble, Victor, thinking you can do whatever you want without consequences, but I've made sure to turn the tide. Josh had worked tirelessly gathering evidence, untangling the web Victor had spun around himself. We had captured his dealings, masked his footprints, and now the trap I laid was about to snap shut. Your empire is crumbling, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. You think a few rumors could ruin me? He spat, but I saw the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. People like me, we thrive on chaos. I smiled, feeling a rush of adrenaline. Only for so long, but chaos always has a way of turning back on itself. Every action has a consequence, and you're about to see just how true that is. He aimed for indifference, but I noticed his hands tense, the knuckles turning white as they gripped the edge of the table. It's a mistake to underestimate me, Leela. You don't know who you're dealing with. You think you're in control, but I assure you this is far from over. Is that a threat? I shot back, unwilling to be intimidated, because it only proves how scared you really are. The satisfaction coursed through me like warm honey. I was winning, and I could tell it was getting under his skin. As silence filled the air, I decided to drive my point home. This is your last chance, Victor. You can either confess to everything and try to make amends, or you can keep pretending you're safe. But know this, I won't rest until you pay for what you've done. He looked at me, and for a brief moment, I could see clarity in those blue eyes. I leaned in closer, lowering my voice to a whisper, almost inviting him into my world. I'm not the scared girl you used to bully. When you cross me, I'll stop at nothing to take you down. It seemed to resonate for just a moment, a flicker of something beneath his bravado, perhaps regret or fear seeping through the cracks. You are playing a dangerous game, Leela. One you won't win, he warned, his voice barely a whisper now, much different from the bravado he displayed before. Maybe, I replied softly, a small smile playing on my lips. But you have no idea how far I am willing to go to reclaim what you took from me. This is not just revenge. This is a rescue operation for my dignity, my life, and my future. With that, I turned to leave, my body trembling slightly with the weight of what I was about to unleash upon him. As I crossed the threshold of the room, I could feel his gaze on my back. The pit of depression was lifted. I steeled myself with the certainty that I was one step closer to bringing him down. I will see you again, Victor. You will never forget my name." I pushed the door open and walked down the cold corridor, my heart racing with adrenaline. Each step was firmer than the last, each breath a victory. The taste of revenge lingered on the tip of my tongue, sweetened by the knowledge that I was not only reclaiming my past, but rewriting my future. I would not be silenced again.